Hey guys, let's take a peek into Apple's future. There's been a crazy new report regarding the new iPhones and what Apple's going to be doing to them, or more rather, what they're going to be removing from them, and that's going to be a good thing. There's not going to be ports, there's not going to be buttons, it's just going to be this crazy device. And in this video, let's go over that, the changes Apple's going to be implementing, why, and what they could look like. It's actually kind of crazy, and I'm excited for a future where an iPhone will literally just be a flat slab of glass. Also, I just got back from my birthday vacation in Shasta. We had fun, and I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone that wished me a happy birthday, that was following me on Instagram. If you guys aren't, by the way, you can. I'll leave a link down below in the description. I post more about like personal stuff on there, not so much YouTube related, but yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for the wishes. Let's get into this report. It is absolutely nuts. So Mark Gurman of Bloomberg, one of the best Apple leakers as well, second to Ming-Chi Kuo, has released a new report in regards to AirPower, the charging mat that's just MIA, and Apple hasn't given us a good release date or anything. He's given us an update on that, but more importantly, in this report, he talks about a future of the iPhone and that Apple was considering for the iPhone 10 and is still considering and will be implementing in future models. He says that Apple actually considered releasing the iPhone 10 without a Lightning port. No port that you can plug into your computer and charge or transfer data. It would just be sealed off on the bottom. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but there's actually a lot of feasibility to it. And he says that Apple is still looking into that, and possibly even a crazier future where they don't have buttons or even ports of any kind. It will be a sealed piece of metal. So once it dies, you guys will just have to send it back to Apple for recharging or replacement. Not really, but he says that they were going to be doing, of course, wireless charging in favor of that port charging. And if you really think about it, plugging a device in to charge with a port has been, around since the dawn of time. There was really no other way to do it. Wireless charging just became popular within the last 5 years or so, and within the next 5 years, imagine how good it's going to get, how fast it's going to get to where you don't need to plug in through a port whatsoever. And at the moment, he says Apple didn't release it on the iPhone 10 because of the limitations of fast charging. They weren't able to get a strong enough version of it through AirPower, and they scrapped that idea for the iPhone 10. It just wasn't feasible enough yet. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it. In fact, he says they're still looking towards that in the future. And another reason they didn't do it this year on the iPhone 10 was because of price. It was just too expensive to include a wireless charger in the box of the iPhone. So there are so many questions I have because of this. And first off, I just wanted to say the design. Let's take a look at that. What would change? Obviously, you wouldn't have a port on the bottom. It would look very strange. I mean, how can you not have a port to connect your iPhone to? So there would be nothing there. And kind of to make up for that, I scooted over the screws themselves to look like part of the speaker. I think it looks pretty clean, really flush, something that Apple would do. And man, I just can't get over the fact that there's no port. It looks weird, but I mean, less dust, less clogging up in there. And moving on, he actually says the Apple designers hope to remove completely all buttons and more ports from the phone. So what other ports are there? In our design, we actually removed the SIM card tray to show you guys that that is another port that doesn't need to be there. Apple is working towards eSIM compatibility. Also about the buttons, the report says that Apple hopes to remove most of the buttons in the future as well. And I just can't see that happening entirely. First off, the phone needs a physical button to reset it if anything ever happens. But what if phones get so reliable in the future that you'll never need to hard reset your phone? I don't know, it's just an option. But in any case, we removed the volume buttons and added a capacitive area on the side instead and kind of outlined it so you can see. I'm sure that Apple in the future would just have like a slide gesture, something of the sort where you wouldn't need a physical button for that. Of course, the big tragedy here is that the volume rocker for the mute will be gone. And that is my favorite thing about the iPhone right now. It is so great. Power button, we did make capacitive as well. And I don't know, I just can't see this one not being physical, but maybe in the future, Apple finds a way to implement some sort of hardware into the display where you can turn it on and off if something goes wrong. I mean, like if it freezes and you need to hard reset it. But possibly Apple will pull an Apple Watch where they can put a diagnostic port inside of it somewhere, maybe underneath the display, just in case Apple needs to fix the phone and actually connect to it manually. This opens up so many possibilities. I'm literally just spitballing with you here about some ideas I have. It's kind of crazy. It really opens up doors for the future. I'm also wondering about accessories. Right now, there is a multi-billion-dollar market with accessories that take advantage of the Lightning cable ports, a bunch of cases that do so many things that would just be getting axed. The wireless thing is certainly great, but are we ready for it? That's what I'm wondering. Everyone else needs to catch up, and I think that's going to take a few years at the least. Believe it or not, that is the future, and that will be coming to the iPhone. Less buttons, or less physical buttons in any way, less ports, probably no SIM card tray. It's kind of crazy, but that's the type of change that I like. When Apple did the headphone jack removal, it's something that I didn't need. It was very controversial, but it was a change I'd like to see, that they didn't listen to the opinions of others. They just moved forward, and then everyone caught up to them. So this would be the very same thing, just in a different way, I guess. And another question I have is that we heard USB-C may be happening. Would Apple still transition to USB-C, where they just go straight to no port at all? I personally think that they would completely remove the ports instead of transitioning to USB-C. That'd be sort of like caving in for them, and I think that they just rather remove it altogether and transition to the next stage. And just to add to this with my opinion, I believe this is totally possible. I mean, it sounds crazy, but you don't need a port if you have very, very good wireless charging, and Apple's supposed to be improving that later this year as well with faster, even faster wireless charging in any case. So the technology is catching up. Apple has the W2 chip in the headphones that makes the wireless aspect of the iPhone and pairing it to other things very great, especially with AirPlay 2 now. It's just Apple is focusing and heading towards a completely wireless world. So really, why not remove that jack? There's really nothing holding us back, but do voice your opinions. Leave a comment down below. I want to read from your guys' stance. I personally think it makes sense, especially if the wireless world catches up to it. Now, the original report was about AirPower, and Mark Gurman does give us an update about what's going on with it and when we are likely to see it. Now, he says that there are three main reasons why it was delayed. One, the ability or the tendency to overheat, the intricacies of charging many devices at once, and then there's a bunch of software bugs that they ran into, making it work with iOS 11 and presumably iOS 12. So Apple is likely to release it in September now. Instead of the before rumored June dates, engineers actually wanted it to release at WWDC. He says it's going to be happening at September with the new iPhones. And the crazy thing is that he mentioned in this report is that AirPower will be running a custom chip from Apple, possibly even a very slow and older A-series chip. Well, not very slow, I just mean older A-series chip, and it's custom built to handle the power management, the charging. So this thing could possibly even potentially be getting software updates in the future. It is so much more complex than we originally thought. And for it to cost $200 actually almost makes sense now. I mean, a product that's going to be getting software updates might even get better with time with additional features and whatnot. So $200 is the rumored price. I'd like it to be anywhere from $100 to $150. I think that would make sense with how complex it is. And hopefully in September we can finally see it. Now, this is pretty cool. You may soon be able to unlock a car with your iPhone. And I know it's already possible for some models, but this would be a built-in feature, as the Car Connectivity Consortium has actually released a digital key 1.0 version for phones that would allow this to be possible. This protocol would potentially work on iPhones because Apple is actually a part of this consortium, much like they're a part of the Emoji Consortium or Unicode Consortium, so they can add their own inputs and actually make it custom built to work with their phones. So that's a feature that could potentially make it to future iPhones, and it will allow you to unlock car doors, lock them, start the car, and of course drive away with it. So this would be over NFC, and if Apple added that to iPhones, I think that would be a very killer feature. Of course, you would need a car that it'd be compatible with. Not all would work, especially older ones, and much like CarPlay, it would be a rollout depending on the manufacturers if they'd want to add it or implement their own version of this feature to phones like Audi has right now or BMW or whatnot. So we'll see what happens with that, but it's a very exciting feature. Now, we've got an update on the iPhone SE 2. Unfortunately, it isn't a good one. So case maker Elixir, that actually released the renders earlier of the iPhone SE 2 that were so good looking, is now saying the device won't be happening. In fact, it's been scrapped entirely by Apple. So working closely with their insider sources, they're saying that Apple will only be releasing 3 models this year, and that's the iPhone 11 5.8 inch. Yes, this is what they called it. The iPhone 9 6.1 inch and the iPhone 11 6.5 inch, the Plus version anyways. So unfortunately from them, I don't know how reliable it was in the first place, but they're saying it won't be happening, and Ming Chi Kuo earlier casted doubt on that as well. So it's very unknown. I mean, we've been having so much news, conflicting news on the iPhone SE 2 back and forth. It's happening. It's going to have a full screen display. It's going to be the same design, just slightly updated specs. So really at this point, it's not much of a surprise that it won't be happening, but with all the news we had, I thought that there might be a spark of truth to it. And the first case renders of Apple's all new, if you will call it, the iPhone 9 6.1 inch have hit the web. This is courtesy of Ghost Tech and acquired by BGR. This is the actual case for the iPhone. It's going to go up for sale, and it's sitting on a render of that iPhone. It looks very, very much in line with what we've seen from the schematics. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they built this based on those schematics, but they say they have insider sources that actually work at the factory that produce these iPhones that sent them these schematics. And there are some more case renders from this listing on Alibaba as well, also confirming that new lens design with the flash on the bottom. Again, growing on me, I could definitely see Apple doing something like this. And a new video from Akatakara gives us the first glimpse at the lineup for 2018. We see the 5.8-inch model, the 6.1-inch model, and of course the 6.5-inch model. This does confirm as well that the SIM card tray will be sitting lower on the side. Of course, the lens design, single lens with the flash below it, and it's just really cool to see the size perspective of these phones. I mean, phones are only going to be getting larger from here on out, and the 6.1-inch is going to be the cheapest, of course, of them all, but the 5.8-inch will be the smallest. So really unfortunate that the SE won't be getting refreshed. I think we certainly do need smaller phones nowadays, but still very nice to see the size comparison here. And the company TSMC, responsible for producing all of Apple's chips, has just invested $25 billion in order to fabricate a new 5nm node for the upcoming A series chips in Apple's iPhones. 5 nanometers is crazy. To give you some perspective, 11 years ago, almost 11 in a few days here when I'm going to be unboxing the original iPhone, the first iPhone had a 90 nanometer node. So that's insane how far we've come in 11 years. We're going to be at 5 nanometers in 2019 at the earliest, 2020 around there. So we're likely to see 7 nanometers here for a few years. But just the fact that they're investing so much money in the future of it, it really goes to show you Apple's commitment to their processors. And they're only going to keep getting faster, more efficient, and possibly eventually come to our notebooks as well. Anyways, guys, there it is. A glimpse at the future of Apple's iPhones actually gets me quite excited because it seems like not much has been happening for the longest time, and I hope Apple's software catches up to the hardware, seemingly incredible hardware that's coming within the next few years. Thanks for watching, guys. The future is exciting. We just have to wait for it now.